Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam. Oh boy.
Find the TFS pod and our playlists wherever you stream your podcast or music. Follow us on X at TheFinalScore35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 226th edition of the Final Score Podcast. Post PGA Championship, we are halfway through all of our majors and the golf season. That's crazy to say. Tigers 33-17 after 50 games. Not too shabby. We'll take it. League's best. Hopefully we can keep that up. Michigan State football is 100 days away. I saw that today. That's also crazy. It seems so far away, but that's not actually too far away. Lots to talk about. We're going to talk golf. We're going to talk some Michigan State stuff, maybe a little bit, some Tigers, but mostly golf. But I'm gonna go basketball and continue on a topic that we don't really want to talk about, but we have to talk about it because of the stupidity that's brought up due to actions by one froggy Angel Reese. First of all, I'm not women's basketball is different than men's basketball. That's obvious. The WNBA is terrible. It's held on by Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark only, and there's this weird thing going on that's going on for years between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Is mostly on Angel Reese's side. Played this weekend, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was. And there was some more bad blood, and Angel Reese crying, blah, blah, blah. And then I don't even know what team she was, Chicago maybe, comes out and says, oh, there were racist chants toward me. Dave Portnoy from Barstool was sitting courtside and he was calling me derogatory racist terms. And he comes out and says, no way, that's not true.
Jesse Smolinski part 2.
I love the lies out of these people. The pure imagination of her, especially. She doesn't even know how to play basketball correctly. She's only good because she's tall. She misses point blank shots all the time. Doesn't use her offhand. And when asked in a press conference, they're like, "Well, why don't you how much you practice your life?" And she goes, "Well, I'm right-handed, so I don't." What? You're a professional what? Whiner. I'm just tired of this
professional
crap.
Victim.
It's all over the news, and it's what they want, though. This is what the WNBA wants, people to talk about it, because no one cared before Caitlin Clark came in. No one cared. It's all over TV. It's on CBS. It's on ESPN. It's on ABC now. All these different channels carry it. How many people watch that?
But yet she and Paige Brookers have to apologize for their white privilege.
I've had it with this garbage. And I don't like Dave Portnoy, but good Lord, why? I don't understand how he is getting blamed for something he never did, never said. And I hope he goes at her and sues her. That'd be awesome.
I'm telling you, a person to follow, if you like, a good conservative sports reporter, is Jason Whitlock. He called out the epidemic of the angry black woman and, talking really about Angel Reese and always playing the victim, and ran through that because, of course, I'm not watching the games, but, about how she gave a hard shove to Clark early in the game. They didn't call it anything. They just said, oh, it was heated, blah, blah, blah. Later in the game, when the supposed racist incident happened, Clark swiped down against her arms like a typical common foul. She flopped. She complained. She cried. Refs, as he called it, the DEI refs, went and looked at it and decided it was upgraded to a flagrant. And it's and Caitlin Clark will apologize and go, yeah, it's my fault because I'm white. That shtick is so tired and so old. All the stuff coming out this week with how Biden has advanced prostate cancer. The best medical doctors in the world didn't see that beforehand. The Dems live a woke life of lies, and the WNBA is just an offshoot. And oh, by the way, the WNBA is only there because the shitty NBA subsidizes it. So you get rid of the shitty NBA, you wouldn't have the shittier WNBA. It's exhausting. It gives us something to to talk about, I guess, on the podcast and other people to talk about. But it's like you said, Ryan, don't even want to because it gives attention to something that doesn't deserve our attention. Because it's not even basketball to begin with. It's garbage. Minus Caitlin Clark. I will give you, she's a phenomenal basketball player, but the rest of it's trash. Case in point, I don't need to know how to use my left as a, quote, pro basketball player. Ryan learned his left when he was 6 years old. Give me that bullshit. All right. On to a lighter podium, since I got to kind of tag into Ryan's and get the anger out. My podium is simply a couple words. Every athlete that wants to be successful should be more like Scotty. If you don't know who I'm talking about Scotty Scheffler. If you're not a golf fan, that's fine. Look him up, study him, follow him. I'm telling you, every athlete should be like him. Tiger had attributes of Scotty. Other people have attributes of Scotty. The attribute Tiger had, which arguably maybe even more so than Scotty, is the cold-blooded killer instinct. He was so steely focused, didn't talk to anybody. Rory kind of, tries to mimic that. Scotty has that, but he doesn't have it to the point where he's not friendly to his competition, or at least he's not like talking to them. But I mean, case in point, this weekend, he was playing okay in the PGA, and we'll talk more about the golf in a little bit. Thursday, Friday, he was definitely in the mix, and Saturday, he just turned it on and started to run away from the field. And then Sunday, kind of hung on to a bouncy start. And it was through that steely resolve. Like, he's unflappable. He was struggling with his swing, going left on everything, and he just made a patient slight adjustment going into the back nine and won the thing by 5 shots. So it's like that steely resolve. It's that burning desire to win, but he does so without taking down everybody around him. And by that I mean is like he's not calling people out. He doesn't trash other players. He doesn't act like a buffoon to other players. He doesn't act like a buffoon about himself. Another part, he owns up and he answers the questions from the media. You had Rory, who was on ice because he was all butthurt about a non-conforming driver. Well, Scotty and several other people also had non-conforming drivers. Did you see him complain about it? So you got that part of him too. He rises above the other noise. And I think what probably hit me the most, and actually almost made me, as I watched it, emotional, as like I was looking forward to it, is when he won 2 different things. Number one, the typical, kind of somewhat subdued initial celebration. But number 2, you saw that steely resolve and that burning fire to win, and when he spiked his hat and said, F yeah. Totally not necessarily in what we view as his character, but like you got to see a real emotional him, but emotional without being that way all the time. And then probably even better than that is the embrace and the kiss with his wife and his son, and not just this made for TV, oh, look at we're the happy family, me and my pretty wife and my great son, and he's won, and aren't we cute, and give him back to the wife and walk away and take care of stuff. He carried the little guy, Bennett, that's his name, right?
Yep.
All the way to the scorer's room. If you watched on social media at all, he had him sitting there while he was finishing his scorecard stuff, playing with his hat, playing with a club, I think a driver cover or whatever, just like totally oblivious and just having a great time. Like he was being a dad. He was being a husband. Like he's proof in a sport that's grueling, right? It's so mentally taxing. These guys are on the road. Now he doesn't have to be as much because he wins so much money, but he's still like, they're competing, probably 30 some weeks out of the year. That's time away from your wife and your kids, unless it's a major. And he just does it right. Like he still prioritizes the right things. He prioritizes God and family and then golf. But his golf is like, I'm going to step on your nuts and twist with metal spikes. Tough. Like, why can't more athletes be like that?
Yeah, that's so true. Really good stuff. All right, let's go to Out of Bounds, and we're going to stick in the golf world on this conversation. Wyndham Clark, one of our favorite.
Ryan's favorite, just a
crybabies.
Giant baby. Was that Sunday when he did that? Or Saturday?
Sunday.
Turned on, was like 12th hole, something like that. Like, had a bad drive and was not having a great day. And he had been in the red. turned around and absolutely just whipped his driver. Could have hit somebody like I don't think there were fans behind where he threw it, but I think, there were certainly marshals and parts of the, scoring group and all that kind of stuff. Just absolutely whips his driver into the wall. Head breaks off and goes flying. Just a total a-hole move, like the complete opposite of Scotty. Like, hold it together, dude. You want to be angry, that's fine, but hold it inward and then go, spike a foam brick. Or I saw a great thing from Chris a couple weeks ago. It was like, if you want to get out your anger on a golf course, throw a golf ball with your opposite hand. Yeah. And then you'll laugh and whatever else. Just no place for that kind of behavior on the golf course. I get it if you're fiery and you're passionate and whatever, but like those tantrums, that's like old John Rahm. That's old Bryson DeChambeau. That's kind of, in a way, old Tiger Woods too. And it's just not becoming in a gentleman's game like that. I thought that was just a trash move by him. And speaking, well, we'll save Rahm for golf. So yeah, that's our out of bounds for the week.
Yeah, that's really it. And I think the thing he threw that was a T-Mobile thing. He's a T-Mobile sponsor.
Oh, like one of the sponsors.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. All right, let's go to par 3. But first, Shot 1 is presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years experience in sports sponsorship and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com. The PGA Championship, Scotty Scheffler, you already touched on it, reigns supreme, gets his 3rd major. And I have to tell you, I think we're in the midst of a special thing and a revolution with Scotty Scheffler. I think that he's just blossoming and figuring out who he is, figuring things out. His putting has just gotten so much better. His driving is so accurate. His irons, he's always going to be one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world when it comes to that. And his short game, around the green, he's really creative. Has that Texas short game, like a lot of the really good pros from there do. I think this is just the beginning for him. Double-digit majors? Is he on the watch for it?
There's only 2 other guys that have won 3 majors and 15 tournaments total before the age of 30. Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus.
And not a bad company to be a part of there.
And, most people will be like, oh, he's boring, blah, blah, blah. Like, it kind of spiked it when he got basically illegally arrested a year ago. And then spiking his hat, I think, brought out some of that personality. Yeah, he's a cold-blooded killer on the golf course.
There's the thing about that is I've never seen him show emotion like that, and he did. Yeah. And I think that's scary for the rest of the world of golf. Get him, and he dropped a few FEAs.
And the thing is like when he's not. We've talked about this on the podcast several times this year and in the past. Like when he's not playing well, he still is shooting under par, and he's still staying.
His C+ game is good enough to win.
Yeah, most weeks it really is, and that's the remarkable thing is like he just limits his mistakes. He'll take his medicine and take a bogey on a hole. And at one point, I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday, his bounce back rate was 50%, meaning every bogey he had, half the time he followed up with a birdie.
That's crazy.
Let alone a par, but a birdie, like bogey to birdie and make up that lost stroke. That's way, way better. The average is something like in the low teens, I believe, if I remember correctly of what they said. And he was 50% bounce back rate. And like Ryan said, when he doesn't have it, he's still a threat because he just doesn't kill himself on the golf course. No. And speaking of kill himself, that's what happened with like John Rahm. And John Rahm admitted, he's like, he had to get after he had to get after it a little bit at the end when Scotty was turning it on him, and he missed a couple slippery putts closely. But I really appreciated what John Rahm had to say in his press conference afterwards. He's like, you know what? I'm not a first responder. I'm not a policeman. I'm not in the military. He's like, this is just a game, guys. Like, I'll get over this. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, it sucks how I played. I didn't bring my A game at the time when it mattered most. But you know what? I'm happy because it's got me where I need to go, and I can, compete in other majors. So I appreciated that about Rahm. DeChambeau just didn't quite have it all weekend, but he was right there. He's got to get his distance control dialed in. That's his struggle. Not his driving was phenomenal again, but he just is struggling with his distance control on his irons. You had a guy like Max Homa who played really great, had kind of rose up from the ashes because he hasn't played well, and then tailed way off at the end. Jonathan Vegas, we hung in there pretty decently. I don't know how he ended up finishing.
He finished tied for 5th. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the lead after the first couple of days, and he was right there. And the course took a lot of beating. I personally love the fact that it had some very supremely gettable holes that made it really exciting to watch. Drivable par 4s, or eagleable par 5s, but the par 3s were brutal, which for us, I hate it when that happens. I'd rather have an easy par 3, but for pros, I don't mind it. And the Green Mile at the end was just ate everybody except for Scotty up.
Yeah, really good.
But it's a premium on good golf, and that's what you want. I mean, a beautiful course. The fans were great. They were involved in it. Pristine condition. Like, with all the rain that course had Monday and even into Tuesday, as well as it played, was hats off to the greenskeepers there too.
Yeah, it was really good. The course grew on me throughout the week. I thought, it ended up being pretty good. A lot of guys that haven't necessarily done well in majors did well. Like you mentioned, Vegas, JT Poston up there, Ben Griffin a top 10, 9 shots off the lead or whatever, 7 shots off the lead. I'm sorry, but Joe Highsmith, my hat guy. I thought
Harris English with a nice tight
Harris,
tee for you. He had a great
him.
Sunday.
Yep. So that's good to see. I mean, a lot of notables really did miss the cut too. Spieth, Stepp Straka after coming off a win, Shane Lowry, JT, Ludwig, Hideki,
Rory didn't
Ricky.
play for squat and blew off the media 4 days in a row like a punk. See, like, that's the difference between a Scotty. Scotty didn't blow off the media. Rory pouts like a petulant child. Yeah,
that's the Rory thing. I mean, I'm happy for him that he got his Grand Slam or whatever, but he can just go away now. I mean, his attitude, he's so what have I done lately? Like, if he wins, plays well, he's all happy-go-lucky, which is, that's normal, but then he acts like a complete child when he doesn't get his way, doesn't play as well. That's what he acted like all week, which is weird. Maybe he's having troubles again with the family. I don't know. But his performance was not inspiring at all, especially moving forward in this major season, especially with a course like Oakmont where hitting fairways is going to be at a premium. His driving has been very suspect, and his approach game has been pretty suspect, really since the Masters. So, I don't know. He's kind of rubbing me the wrong way ever since that Masters win with the way he's acted. So, interesting thing to monitor there. Nothing really. I mean, the mud ball thing, I thought that was an interesting topic on Tuesday. Scotty was very outspoken about
Thursday,
it. Thursday. Pretty outspoken about it. So is Schauffele. Whatever. I mean, I see why they didn't do the lift, clean, and place, but I also, you want to see guys perform well.
I just think, some rules in the game of golf, if you don't, and typically I think it's only through closely known areas, so fairways around the green, obviously on the green you can clean your ball. I think that you should have lift, clean, and place, not in every round, but when you've had rain like that, if your ball's in the fairway and you have mud on it, you should be able to clean it. If your ball's in the fairway and you land in a divot, you're being, we've talked about this a million times in the podcast, being penalized for that, that's BS. That's just garbage. It's I get it, there's a little bit of the luck of the draw and the bounce or whatever, but in the fairway, no. If you're in a divot in the rough, all right, game on. You're in a bad spot in a bunker that was poorly raked, not for us, but game on. I get that part, but when you're in the middle where you're supposed to be and you get penalized, I have a problem with that. And that mud ball would be along those lines. Now, again, if you're took a big bounce out of the fairway and you picked up some mud and you're sitting in a sand trap and you got mud and sand on your ball, sorry, you didn't end up in the fairway, so you didn't get to clean your ball.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I still think there's lots of talk about the PGA, because it's the weakest, arguably, of the 4. There's a lot of, I don't think it'll ever happen, but there's a lot of movement to go back to the old way, which is kind of like the U.S. Amateur, how they have stroke play to get into match play, and then you have match play. That's how the PGA Championship used to be. Maybe that would make it stand out a little bit. There was a lot of argument about why is it in a course that's in the regular rotation? We want to see courses we don't see. I don't know. For me as a fan, I just want to see a good golf course, and I want to see good golf. I don't care if they're playing at North Kent. You know, if it's good golf and it's intriguing and inspiring to watch, like that's all I care about.
Yeah, good TV. And it was with Scotty getting the dub. I don't really have a ton else PGA. I mean, it was a good tournament. Next year around, I think that should be fun. They just revamped that recently, so should be good. But Scotty, love him, #1 player in the world. My favorite player.
Be more like Scotty.
Yep. I hope he gets to double-digit majors. That'd be sweet, and gets the Grand Slam. That would be pretty sweet. Let's do some. How
do we do in our contest?
You got first. Mitch got second. I got third. Chris fourth.
Yeah, but like what were our final scores? You got it. You're tracking it. That's important.
Because
it's important to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm 2 for 2.
11:27 for you. 11:52 for me. 11:44 Mitch. 11:64 Chris. So,
thank you. I get to pick first for the U.S. Open. Which, by the way, to set the table again for that playlist, if you haven't found our playlist on this one, which is top 10 course songs per person to play on the golf course, it's top 10 favorite songs of all time. So that ought to be an interesting insight into the minds of Andy, Ryan, Mitch, and Chris. Which, again, Mitch, we thank you for joining us live last week, and Chris for participating via your picks. I take no blame. I picked them in the order that you had them. It's not my fault that you didn't do enough homework. But we still appreciate you actually also adding epically to the playlist with some definitely some interesting bangers on that list. So that was fun. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about this weekend, at least.
Yeah,
picks.
the Charles Schwab.
Starting to lose track of
Colonial.
who I haven't.
Yeah, not just a classic stop on the tour. Not some crazy awesome course, but gets the job done. Scotty Scheffler, pretty low odds there at plus 240.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Decent amount of good guys playing. I wouldn't be surprised if Scotty won. Also wouldn't be surprised if he's missed the cut. I mean, he's probably staying at home, I would guess, because he's in Dallas. Guessing it should be swampy down there, warm, especially for this time of year. My guy that I'm picking, riding the hot streak after a nice performance in the PGA, JT Poston.
Good pick. I have my eye on somebody but I think I'm going to save him for Hartford a little bit later. And I don't know if I've picked this person yet or not this year, but I'm going to go with Daniel Berger. Have I picked Berger?
Yes, you have.
Oh, I picked the cheeseburger. I think I picked Spieth too, right? How about McNeely? Have I picked McNeely? I think I did him recently.
No, I don't see his name.
All right, I'll go with Mav McNeely.
You had him.
I had him last week. That's right. He was a backup last week, which I should have gone with, and I would have won by more.
Yeah,
because he played better than Morikawa.
Two good picks there. Two under the radar guys that can.
McNeely plus 3,000. JT Poston plus 4,500. If you want to put a nickel on it.
Put a bone on him.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, that's golf. Let's get to shot number 2. Mailbag, presented by Chris of Palooza this week.
Yep, and then actually first I got a little hodgepodge for you. So how can we not address this today news drop elephant in the room? Zakai Ziegler, or whenever, suing the NCAA. What impact could ruling have on future eligibility? What is this about, you wonder? I wondered who knows. 3 hours ago is when it was posted. So I'm going to read a little bit of the story from Fox Sports. 2-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Zakai Ziegler, suing the NCAA over rules limiting him to 4 seasons in a 5-year window as an unlawful restraint of trade under both federal and Tennessee laws. This, folks, is code for there's no way in hell I could ever play in the NBA, so I'm going to sue to try to stay in college.
Here's the one word that comes to my mind. What a loser.
Yeah.
Get a job, dude. Go work on a desk.
He played 4 seasons at Tennessee, leading the Volunteers to consecutive Elite Eights. Vols have been good under his term. We requested a preliminary injunction to allow Zakai to compete in the upcoming season while pursuing his graduate studies, according to a statement from the Garza law firm. We look forward to a swift resolution of the matter so that Zakai can begin preparing for next season. When is this going to stop? Like, you don't have the right, just because you make a buck in NIL, you don't have the right to go to college on somebody else's dime for perpetuity. And kudos to you, it's all at the same school at least, but this is horse shit. And until the NCAA fixes this problem, this is an easy problem to fix. You get 4 years to play and 5 years to do it. Period.
Pretty simple.
That's how it's always been. Now, I will say, we've talked about this before too. I think they made a good adjustment in college football to allow freshmen to play 4 games.
Yeah, that's a great.
And be able to redshirt, so they could play a quarter of the regular season or a third of the regular season and still be able to redshirt as freshmen. I think it's absolute horse bleep that basketball players can't play 1 game without giving up a redshirt when they play 32 regular season games or whatever it is. I think you got to give them same thing, and then we'd stop with some of this other eligibility thing. I get a chance to play, if you want to do the same thing, a third of the season, geez, that's like 10 games.
Right.
You play 10 games, you can play pieces of parts of 10 games. If you think that's too much, 6 games, 8 games, somewhere in there, like no more than 10, and you can still get a red shirt and get a taste for it. I'd have no problem with that. And I think that if the NCAA did that, they'd probably solve some of these issues. But dude, you do not have a right to just make up new rules and play a 5th year because you decided to go to grad school. Newsflash, fella. You were there for 5 years. You should already have your grad degree. My boy Polo went 5 years to Michigan State, was a captain his last 2 years. He got his, at least partway through his master's degree in his time there, in a tough major. I'm not really sure Zakai is studying anything beyond like basket weaving. It's just like, I just continue to see these things, and it's just like, when will the madness end?
Yeah, that's
Never.
stupid. How about this NFL approving flag football for Olympics? I swear, if a Lions guy plays in that, I'm going to be pissed because that's a torn ACL or Achilles waiting to happen.
Yep.
It's a joke. Who the flag football's in the Olympics for? All these things is like shooting, like all this.
Well, they also let
garbage.
Transgenders participate.
Oh
so
my
what do you
gosh,
expect?
What an absolute joke. Tush Push is still alive. Apparently got kind of heated with the voting. I don't understand that, but whatever. It's not Australian rules football or rugby, but apparently teams want it to be. So, I guess
the Eagles do because they have success with it. It's hard to stop.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that, I guess.
Any other hodgepodge news?
Yeah, Triple Crown. What was the journalism?
Journalism. If you haven't seen that, whether you like horse racing or you just maybe watch the Triple Crown, the horse that won. I can't remember his name. The horse that won the Kentucky Derby did not run in the Preakness. Journalism had been the favorite at the Kentucky Derby. He was the favorite at Preakness. He came from like 6 back late to win at the wire, which was actually pretty cool. And listening to that guy on NBC call the races is fun by itself. He just gets so animated and excited. So yeah, that was pretty exciting. You got the Indy 500 this weekend. Having lived there from kindergarten to 5th grade, and back when it was not on TV in the area, you could only listen to it on the radio, and we'd go to, Carburation Day, or we'd go to Pole Day, and it used to be the whole month of May, and now they've shortened it. It's really only a couple weeks, which is too bad because it's such a spectacle, and that place is just enormous. There's going to be 350,000 people there this weekend. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's great. Trying to think if there's anything else big time stuff. I don't think so. No. Unless something might come to my mind, but
nothing that I just saw to sweep through the sports
start on the
channels.
mailbag.
Yeah, mailbag sponsored by Chrisapalooza. What should we think about Rory and Scotty having drivers taken out of play because they were non-conforming?
I don't think much of it. I don't think it's like a cheating thing at all. I think it's like Scotty said, you hit it 1,000 times. It's with that kind of ball speed. It's bound to get a little busted up. So
yeah, Scotty's been playing with that driver for a year. He said,
yeah, that's actually.
And I mean,
crazy.
We're not talking like it's too long or it's just like little things. I'm sure maybe aerodynamics have changed or whatever. But like my thing is too is I mean, if Bryson can what later, what do they call that, 3D print his clubs?
Yeah.
Like, talk about I mean, here's the thing is what I agree on, because the guys like Schauffele and Scheffler too is like we should make we should be testing for this. We should be looking at it more often. We should make it clear who doesn't pass and why. Like, Scheffler's not like hiding anything.
No.
But then yet Rory kind of is like pouting about it and hiding it. It's like, so what was he doing? Was it not on the up and up? Did he have something going on that is a special group? I have no idea. I don't even know what they found because they don't report any of it. And like the randomness, like it does seems like it should just be everybody gets checked. It's like a drug test. I get it's random. That way you can't just like throw your non-conforming club in your car and put a good one in the bag type of thing. But without all the details, I don't think much of it, honestly. Again, if you're playing some space age club that nobody's ever seen or heard of before, that's maybe a little bit different. But, Scotty had been playing with that driver for a year. And obviously it didn't impact him the way it did Rory. So you kind of wonder what was going on with Rory. All right, next question from Chris. Let me check that one off the list. Michigan State football recruiting has been less than exciting so far. What would you make this recruiting season, or what would make this recruiting season a success from here on out?
Well, I think to have success in the modern day, especially with recruiting, especially with Michigan State not wanting to up the ante yet on NIL stuff, I think you got to win. You got to prove that you can win and sustain. I think if Michigan State wins 8 games, this year they suddenly become, okay, they can do it. More people become interested. They start playing some younger guys here and there. I think that I just don't really know. Like, recruiting was difficult in the first place for a school like Michigan State, and now it's even harder.
And it's just it's so subjective, because I've said this for years, and Chris, we probably talked about this too. Like, if you're recruited by Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, previously Oklahoma, maybe Texas, maybe Miami, Notre Dame, you automatically are like a 4 or 5 star. Like, but does that make you anything good? Like, how many of those 4 and 5 stars, there's numbers, I'm sure, but how many of those really pan out as 4 or 5 stars? I think of, like, my take on Michigan State recruiting is I used to be a Spartan Mag guy and read all the comp stuff. He's really good about following recruiting. Football recruiting is so all over the board. And case in point, Kirk Cousins, 2-star. Connor Cook, I think, was a 2-star or a low 3-star. Le'Veon Bell was a 2-star. Jack Conklin was a 0-star preferred walk-on. And he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Like, I believe recruiting is about getting the right guys for your culture and being able to see kind of like the diamond in the rough and develop a diamond in the rough. I think Jonathan Smith is more like a D'Antonio that way. I think too many coaches shortcut into the transfer portal or falling in love with the stars, Tucker being one of those when his short tenure at Michigan State. And those stars burn bright and then they burn out fast. I just don't think that is long-term sustainable. Saban winning begets that, to Ryan's point. Like, Saban got 4 and 5 stars hand over fist that were NFL caliber guys because they knew they could go there and they could get better to go play in the NFL. But that started with the fact that they could get better, and then also, oh, by the way, they're playing extra games because they're winning and they're competing for national championships. So winning starts it all, because that's when D'Antonio started to get guys, and he'd go and get guys that, you think about it, like Kirk Cousins was an afterthought, came in 2-star, only Western had offered him, versus Keith Nickel was coming in, it's from our area, Lowell, Michigan, was a 5-star quarterback, had gone to Oklahoma, and sat behind Sam Bradford in his freshman year, and then transferred to Michigan State after John L. Smith, or after Mark D'Antonio established himself. And he ended up becoming a wide receiver. Like, perfect example. Give me coaches who can develop guys. Give me guys that want to develop and be coached, because those are the guys that make it in the NFL. Those are the Brock Purdy's of the world. Those are the guys like the Lions pick from Boise State that are going to make it because they have the mental fortitude and the work ethic, and they've got the will to get better. Like, and I think the pendulum will shift back eventually, right? People will figure out the transfer portal's not the answer. All these guys that go into it and they never come out of it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't worry about Michigan State's recruiting because it all depends on what happens on the field, and it's all about how can the coaches develop guys. Is our quarterback going to get better this year because he was coached up better and he has a little bit more experience? That's the measure, and it'll pay off in wins.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line. Just win, baby. All right. Chris's last one is a fun fact that turns into a question. Fun fact, bunkers, aka sand traps, were not an intended part of original golf course design. Because golf originated in Scotland and the courses were near the shore, the grazing sheep would dig, quote, bunkers to shelter from the cold northern wind. Since we no longer need the sheep to mow the grass, maybe we need that for sustainability purposes, should modern designers get rid of the bunker?
No. I think
I think that's a cool fact and why they were there, but I think there's a reason they evolved into American golf too, is just because it's in the right course. I think of like Sand Valley where we're going to go play next year. I mean, that's obviously is the terrain, or Arcadia Bluffs, it's the terrain and stuff, but like it just adds such a visual element. It adds a little bit of an extra, we got to stay out of that. You don't want to go into that. I mean, or in the case of the pros, they want to go into it. So I can see your question, Chris, from the pro perspective, because their misses are to bunkers because they can control things better out of the bunkers than the rough, with the lie and all that stuff. For us as amateurs, like I'd rather be in the rough than bunker. I'd rather hack my way out of the rough because I know that I'm at least going to get it forward and not leave it in the sand 3 or 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
So I don't think so. Fair question, but that wouldn't be my bag.
Yeah. Agreed. One thing we did not touch on is Michigan State added another transfer from Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Divine Ugochukwu, 6'3" point guard.
He better not wear 99 at Michigan State.
I'm sure he will.
It's right up there with kickers wearing numbers in the 90s.
Stupid. Not some sexy name by any stretch, but he's good. He'll be a fine backup. Point guard for Michigan State. Hopefully their guys develop, and still the door is not officially shut for Jace Richardson to come back, but I would never expect that. But still, never say never. That's really it on the Michigan State side. I just saw another thing. USC Notre Dame might not play ever again after this year.
I saw that because USC doesn't see the value in playing them.
Yeah, of course not.
Well, but that's what happens in college football when
you
push
have
to
36 teams that make the playoff. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it's stupid. Hopefully college football will get figured out here with maybe Nick Saban will be the czar or whatever. That would be pretty cool. I don't think I have anything else. Shall we move on to shot 3? But before that, a word from our presenting sponsor. Team Andrews Realty will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. We go to Mount Rushmore. We're back. Back with one of our favorite topics. We kind of went back and forth on a topic, and we have settled with best Detroit Tigers players of all time, of our lifetime. How do we want to do it?
I think it can be... No, who do you think are just like, if you made your Mount Rushmore the best Tigers players of all time, from what you know? I mean, I probably have more historical knowledge maybe than you do.
How about we can't pick the same people?
Okay, that's fair.
So
I don't know if that we will.
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Brandon Inge. No, I'm kidding.
Ryan Rayburn.
I'm going to go Alan Trammell.
Okay.
I think just steady Eddie shortstop. Not a phenomenal hitter, but a really good hitter. He was the 2-man in the lineup. So steady as a fielder.
And he was a shitty manager for the Tigers.
Yeah, well, players don't always make good managers.
No. Detroit is the only Detroit coach that's ever been successful as their own coach is Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I'll go Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah, how can you not, right?
I remember when they traded for him, the D-Train was involved in that. I think they got rid of Cameron Maben, who was a good prospect at the time. A few other guys, and good Lord, man. I mean, the guy, Triple Crown winner, won a couple MVPs, 500-plus home runs. I mean, one of the best hitters of modern day baseball.
Yeah,
just
100%.
Phenomenal talent. I remember when he was humming, the Tigers were fun, man. They were fun. Those are the golden days.
Yeah, they were for sure. For me, this is almost turning into as much of a favorite as best, but I got to go with Alan's Trammell's battery mate, Lou Whitaker. Sweet Lou.
Passed away recently. Right?
Yeah, leadoff hitter for the Tigers. Back then, they were 1-2. It was Whitaker, Trammell, Gibby, Lance Parrish, Darrell Evans was like your first five in 1984. Lou Whitaker, an amazing double play guy, like should be in the Hall of Fame. He and Trammell both like together. Just, I think an all-time Tiger. I don't believe that he played anywhere else except for Detroit. Just a great baseball player. And, part of the Tigers' last World Series winning team.
Yeah. Crazy. That was
41 years ago.
Yeah. I'll go way back. I remember watching him play Ty Cobb. Obviously, that was
the
100
original
years ago.
400 hitter.
Played for 21 years, 366 career batting average. That's actually nuts. MLB record.
Yeah.
12 batting titles, 41, almost 4,200 career hits. Known for fierce competitiveness and being one of the greatest hitters of all time. I mean, you can't leave a guy. His name's all over that stadium.
Oh, yeah.
So
a lot of good old-time players for the Tigers, for sure. I'm going to go with my third pick. I'm going to go with JV, Justin Verlander. Just an amazing, amazing pitcher. It's just too bad the Tigers couldn't win a World Series when he was there.
Yeah, close. Got there 3 times, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lost to the Cardinals, the Giants, and then maybe it was only twice. I don't know. They made it far a few times. I'll go Jack Morris. 254 career wins, and that's not bad. He won a World Series with the Twins as well. I didn't know that until ChatGPT just told me that. But his name's all over that stadium too, so that's 3 for both of us. Who's your final?
I'm going to go with Mr. Tiger, Al Kaline. He's like one of the last of a breed of men who dedicated their entire adult life to one team. He was 18 years old when he signed his first contract with the Tigers.
He's like Gordie Howe.
Yeah, I mean, he just played 22 years. Right fielder, won the World Championship with the Tigers in 1968. Amazing hitter. Not the greatest announcer, although he and George Kell, when I grew up, Uncle Tom, if you're listening, you would know, or Alex, if you're listening, well, you're not old enough to know, but your dad would talk about it. Like, he was on Channel 4, WDIV, would be the local network that played the Tigers when they weren't on pass. He was not a very good announcer, but he just how could you not just love the guy for who he was and his dedication? He's kind of like, equivalent would be like a Steve Yzerman, who played his whole career with the Red Wings.
Yeah, I'll go with Gibby. I'm sure there have been players better than him. I could have said Hank Greenberg, but I'll go with Gibby. Special guy, special player. Won a couple World Series overall. Gritty guy. Hell of an athlete. Yeah, I think I had him on my Mount Rushmore, Michigan State.
Yeah, you did last week. Like you had mentioned some of the other guys. Hank Greenberg, I think his number's retired. Hal Newheiser, his number's retired. Bill Freehan was a great catcher for the Tigers in the 60s.
Norm Cash,
Stormin Norman. Going back through some guys.
ChatGPT is Cecil Fielder.
Yeah, really? And then Prince played there too. Dick McAuliffe, who used to be, I believe it was like the first base coach for the Tigers under Sparky. Willie Horton, he was a great
What about
Great
Willie
player.
Guillermo Hernandez?
Oh, yeah. Willie Hernandez won the Cy Young and the MVP in the same year.
Max Scherzer, you could put him up there.
You know, kind of a low-key, sneaky one. He didn't probably play long enough for the Tigers for me to even think about him as Curtis Granderson. Loved him as a center
he was
fielder.
great.
Not one of the top 4 greatest, but Danny McClain, I mean, he won 31 games, then he went to prison.
This list has, how about ChatGPT?
Mark Fidrich, the Bird.
Special needs ChatGPT has T-Ball Todd Jones on the list.
What?
Awful. Might as well put...
There's names on, like, I'm looking on...
And there's Brandon Inge on this
Yeah, that's why I said that at first.
Maglio Ordonez.
There's a lot of guys that barely even played for the time. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Max Scherzer.
It's a good fun. It's not, you know what? Here's the thing. It's fun to talk about the Tigers again. They're the best team in baseball record-wise. They've got a 5.5 game lead now on their division, even though the Twins won 13 in a row. Just recently, they finally broke that skid. But it's fun to, you know, it's too bad that they're not on TV readily for us without paying an arm and a leg for an app. So, but it's fun to kind of follow them through this Apple Sports app. Thank you, Chris, for telling me about that. And I've been sitting on nice evenings, dry evenings, out on the deck and putting the game on the radio.
And
Dickerson's great.
Yeah.
You know, and somebody was talking about that recently about how the Tigers went, you know, for those of us like my age who grew up with Ernie Harwell, you know, the radio announcers that the Tigers have had over the years, pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I remember when I was young listening to Dan Dickerson on the radio, falling asleep. Same with like the Red Wings and Pistons a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Red Wings have the distinctive voices, and
Dan Miller obviously really good for the Lions too. So, yeah, hopefully the Tigers can keep it up. It's great for the city, and gives us something else to pay attention to and talk about.
Yeah, right. Gives us more pod fodder.
Love that. All right, let's finish this baby off with a sprint as we always do. Is this in the last year, so dating back to 2024, is this the best run of major champions that we have had? We have gone. Was it Scotty last year? Won the Masters. Xander, PGA. Bryson, U.S. Open. Xander, Open. Rory, Masters. Scotty PGA. And Scotty won a gold medal. Is that the best run we've seen in quite some time?
I think so. Yeah, because, I mean, obviously Tiger used to dominate. He won so many of them and whatever, and Phil would win an occasional one. But you didn't... Golf has, like... I read an article about how golf is... Like, it's become like tennis where only the best players have a chance to win. But there's more best players than there were. Like, when it was Tiger and Phil, it was really Tiger and Phil. Yeah, there were guys like Vijay Singh, and there were some other guys that could flash in and out. But, like, there's, you know, including some of those guys that play in the Live, like Rahm and DeChambeau, there's like 5 to 7 guys that are really, really good and could win any tournament. So, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Golfer that has taken the biggest step back this season.
You know, it's hard not to say Max Homa. He's been kind of just
he's been a little off
fighting like caddy change, swing change, club change. Who else would really come to mind? I don't think Morikawa's played that great.
No, he's the name I have. I don't think, you know, he gets a lot of hype. He hasn't won anything. I
mean, he won a PGA and obviously
he hasn't won anything in a few years, and I just don't. Every time I see his name on the board, I'm like, man, he's not going to do anything.
And you had kind of thought, you know, like JT or Spieth or whatever, but those guys both got married. They both had kids. Like,
and JT's kind of had...
And Spieth got hurt, and then JT's had a resurgence.
He's a good season, and Spieth is getting better. I mean, obviously, I think that wrist injury was a lot worse than he lead on.
Yep.
That he'd let on. I think that bothered him for a few years. He even said that his swing was different for, you know, dating back to like 2018, 2019. We know that he won 3 majors in a 3-year period, and, you know, has been close in other ones before. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Morikawa. I like that one. Bigger diva after the news that came out about Caleb Williams. We didn't talk about that. That's ridiculous. Him in some book basically saying that he really didn't want the Bears to draft him and he threatened to go to the CFL or something. Who's the bigger diva, Caleb or Shedeur?
I think Caleb's the bigger diva Shadur's a bigger douche.
Yeah, I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And last and finally not least, which military group out of all the special op forces impresses you the most? Like, which one you look at and be like, I could never do that if I even tried?
That's a good question. And speaking of which, before I answer that, so our new vice president of operations at Hayworth, his his son-in-law was Michigan State's basketball trainer for 7 years and then left 2 years ago to be the head trainer for the Navy SEALs.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. I'm saying the SEALs.
Which
Those
gets
guys
to
are
my
freaking
answer is
nuts.
the Navy SEAls. I'd like to say the Army Rangers because we're an Army house with Army guys in our house and history in our family and stuff, but I got to go Navy SEAls.
Yep.
SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, pretty sweet. All right, that is the 226th episode, and I'd like to say Happy Memorial Day. We won't probably record till next Tuesday or Wednesday, I would think. So shout out to all of our fallen veterans for their service and the ones that continue to fight and serve. It's much appreciated. Couldn't be where we are without them and their sacrifice in the almost 250 years of this great country. So shout out to that. Have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy. Hopefully it'll be warmer than it is now. It's freezing here in lovely West Michigan, 50 degrees in almost June and raining. Lovely. But play some golf, hang out outside, cook some good food, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. In the meantime, don't know who to credit this to. Just know that it was Henry Ford's fireplace motto: chop your own wood and it will warm you twice.